Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Black Site Studio Terrain.
Okay, let's get one more sound test. Hopefully, Jen, you can hear from me now. Because science teacher, let me know if we have sound. Cool, awesome. And last test, can we please get a sound test from my opponent for the day, Mr. Damon? Mr. Damon, can you say hello to our Twitch audience, please?
Evening all, how you going?
All right, and because science teacher, when you can let us know whether or not Damon came through okay? And if so, we will get started. All right, cool. So you heard Damon okay because science teacher? Awesome. Cool. Okay, everyone. It looks like we are live. Awesome. Sounds good. And we are ready to get started. So, as you can see here on our title slide, we are looking at. We've been experimenting lately with 1991 Gulf War in the Panzer Leader system, originally developed by Evelyn Hill back in the early 70s. Of course, it's been expanded over and over again and refined and fixed and tweaked and refined and made better and smoothed out and continued to expand pretty much through almost a modern day, like right now, as far as history goes. It's also been worked backwards into the 1930s, and people have even played around with it in World War One to limited effectiveness. But we're going to try out some more 1991 Gulf War. Now, we've had a couple 1991 Gulf War streams in Panzer Leader in the past, and that's all been great. What I wanted to try here was some British forces. A lot of our audience on Tabletop and Sitrep are obviously from the UK, and the UK had only a relatively small force in the Gulf War comparatively to the rest of the Allied coalition. But I'll tell you what, the the amount of forces that they had, namely First Armored Division, Seventh and Fourth Armored Brigades, they really were in the thick of it, ground war wise. So we wanted to give that one. We wanted to give that game a try today. We're going to keep today's stream a little short. I know I always say that, but this time I really mean it. Short for Panzer Leader. Panzer Leader games, as we've seen on the stream in the past, run anywhere from 4 to 9.5 hours. If you get into the really big ones, we are obviously not going to do that today. We are going to have a very small little game just to play test some of the counters that I made up for the British earlier this morning. So forces for today. If people who maybe were watching us on the stream earlier, last couple of weeks, have already seen a lot of our Iraqi forces. Iraqi forces start off with tanks, are T-55s and the Chinese version of the T-55, which is the Type 69. Those are the tanks that we see here along the bottom. Again, T-55s are the classic Soviet T-54, T-55s that we've seen all over the hell's creation. They're on almost every continent on Earth except maybe Antarctica. Somebody's got them somewhere, and they're in combat, sadly, in Syria to this day. Also, some of the wars in Africa. They're still kicking. Type 69 is, roughly speaking, the Chinese version of this, which Iraq bought a ton of to help carry them through the 80 to 88 Gulf War, the real Gulf War, the Iran-Iraq War from 1980 to 88. And, of course, they were still in service during the first Gulf War, February 1991, the ground operations. A lot of times when people talk about T-55s in the Gulf War, I mean, we've all seen the footage of the burning oil wells and the wrecked T-55s. If you zoom in on the photo a lot of times, what they really are Type 69s. They do have different sights, some slightly better armor, so you do see some different values here. Above that, you'd see some T-62s. T-62s, pretty much anybody who's familiar with Arab-Israeli wars is familiar with a T-62, especially in the 1973 war. Damon, I know, has fought T-62s before at the Valley of Tears in October of 73. These are the slightly updated variants with better ammunition, better training crews. They're not Syrian 1973 T-62s. These are actually pretty good T-62s, although they're still T-62s. One thing we won't be seeing today are T-72s, the T-72M. These were almost strictly Republican Guard units. I found out this morning, there was one brigade of one regular Iraqi armored division that had T-72s. As it turns out, the British forces that we're going to see today never ran across these T-72s before the end of the war. So, historically speaking, we will not be playing around with T-72Ms, at least today. Of course, there's always, hypothetical stuff that we could do, later on, at a later time. But what British 1st Armored Division really ran across in huge numbers were T-55s and also some T-62s. So we'll be seeing plenty of that. And again, when I say T-55s, I mean a mix of T-55s and Type 69s. One of those rare cases in industry where the Chinese knockoff is actually a little better than the original, ironically. And we have our two basic types of Soviet-style mechanized infantry, or I should say mechanized infantry here, followed by motorized infantry here. Difference being these are in tracked APCs, these are in wheeled infantry combat vehicles, or IFVs. And then the usual support stuff. Anti-aircraft, both missile and guns, stationary, technicals, SA-13 anti-aircraft missiles. We won't really be playing with a lot of that today. There is a little bit of Iraqi artillery on the board, and anti-tank APCs, the BRDM-2s. Okay, so now that we've got the vegetables out of the way, let's get to the dessert. Let's look at some challengers. Holy crap. Okay, obviously this is a very small force. Oh, by the way, I will not be putting Damon up against all those Iraqis. That's literally like my Iraqi warehouse that I just grab units out of. I don't... Damon's going to be outnumbered. He's not going to be that badly outnumbered. Okay, so we have the FV-4030 Challenger 1. These are specifically the Mark IIIs that were used in small numbers by, again, 7th and 4th Armored Brigades, 1st Armored Division of the British Army. 1st Armored Division was, for this particular battle, subordinated to U.S. 7th Corps. 7th Corps was the big left hook of Schwarzkopf's main effort. I would say that 1st Armored Division made up about 20% of this force. And we'll look at the larger map in just a second. But these were some of the tanks that they had in place. They also still had some chieftains running around, according to my sources. But what we're going to be focusing on today are some challengers. I found Royal Scots Dragoon Guards. These guys actually were equipped with challengers. Again, 7th Armored Brigade, 1st Armored Division. So here we go. These are the Mark III challengers. So not to put like a compare like side by side versus the Abrams, these tanks have the same attack factor, 56. They both have NATO 120 millimeter guns. Now we're gonna to avoid the argument or whatever, we're not gonna get into whether or not rifled guns are better than smoothbore guns. Smoothbore guns tend to hit harder but may be less accurate because they're not rifled. In Panzer Leader, the attack factor is a mix of accuracy, rate of fire, and raw hitting power. So as the accuracy goes down, the attack factor should go down a little bit. But at the same time, they're more accurate. Whatever. They're 120 millimeter NATO guns. I left them in there at 56. Now, one thing I did kind of, if I wanted to be super, super rivet counting and super, super historically anal retentive here, I would have knocked these challengers way down. And that is strictly for a doctrine reason. These tanks only had 12 rounds of the discarding Sabo depleted uranium. I can't remember the actual number, but they called it the Jericho round. This is pretty much the British discarding Sabo uranium round. The Americans had about the same number. About a quarter of the ammo load are these what they call the silver bullets. These are your prime A1 equal opportunity ass kicker. They kill any tank, anti-tank round. That's where the 56A comes from. So the 56A, from a technical standpoint, should be accurate. However, from what I can understand, these British tank crews were under orders only to use those rounds when they came up against T-72s. They never came up against T-72s. So what we're saying here, because I didn't want to make up special counters just because some British battalion commander, signed a piece of paper, we're going to say that these guys are going into combat with their normal combat load. They don't know if they're going to run across T-72s or not. And when the shells start flying, they just say, the hell with it. You fire what you got. As far as that special rules of engagement order, only use silver bullets against T-72s. There are no T-72s on the table. So I shouldn't be allowing the British to use their 56A. The hell with that. They had them on board. They're in a fight for their life. They're going to go ahead and use them. They do have a better armor value than the Abrams. These are Challengers. This is obviously Chobham was a British invention, the armor. Whether or not there's more or less, I don't really know, because to this day, the exact thicknesses and compositions of pretty much all of the flavors of Chobham, and there's more than one now, remains classified, to the point where I've talked to tank crews personally who fought in the Gulf, and when they sustained hits from things like RPGs or even T-55s, and their armor was busted open. The tanks were never penetrated, but the armor was busted open to where you could see inside the armor, like the different layers, and the tank crew saw it. They were visited by, defense, Defense Intelligence Agency, the Pentagon, maybe even the CIA, and they have to sign all these non-disclosure agreements and whatever. Yeah, look, do not talk about what you saw inside that armor. The point for wargaming, not to get too technical, the point for wargaming is that it can be a real pain in the ass to estimate what these defense values should be, because they don't tell you what's really in the armor and they don't tell you how thick it is. However, one thing that we can go on is British armor is usually just thicker and heavier and meaner than American tank armor, and photos from the Gulf clearly show Challenger 1s, Mark 3s with ERA, that's explosive reactive armor panels, on the glacis plate. Glacis plate, for those who might not be familiar, is the very front of a tank's hull. So pretty much where the driver's hatch is usually, the glacis plate. You see all these little bricks of almost Soviet-style ERA armor on there. The Abrams, of course, did not have that. The M1A2 had not come out yet. The Tusk tank urban survival kit, none of that other stuff had come out yet. These are just basically M1A1s. So I gave the Challengers 4 extra points of defense. So instead of a 32 star, they have a 36 star. The range factor is 16. The range factor was knocked way down. The Abrams has a 20. The Challenger 1 has a 16. And that's going to cause a little bit of distress, perhaps, in the community. Because a Challenger 1 from this unit, I think it was from 4th Brigade, but a Challenger 1 from this exact division has scored the longest recorded tank kill in armored history. They killed a by just a blind luck. They killed a T-55 at some outrageous, like 4,000 meters range, which would be a range of 20 in this game. We're assuming roughly 200 meter hexes. I think that's more of a one-off. This is the L11A5. This gun goes back to 1966, and it's got slightly older electronics in it. Now, that said, when the Challenger 2 comes out with, again, the same size gun, 120 millimeter smoothbore, but it's the L30. That gun is going to have the same range, if not longer, than the M1 Abrams with its German 120 millimeter smoothbore. That's the reason for that. And the movement factor is a little slow. The movement factor went down to a 12. British tanks are usually more heavily armored than American tanks and a little bit slower. We have the Warrior APC. The F510 is the quote-unquote official name for it. I've also seen it called the MCV-80, Mechanized Combat Vehicle 80. It's, your standard APC. If you ask me, it's what the M2 Bradley should have been. In other words, they tried to make the M2 Bradley into a little bit of a tank destroyer by adding all these tows to it. You'll notice that these Warriors have no Milans, no tows, no swing fires. They have no missiles. They have a 30mm automatic cannon. That's the 8AC. That's the 8A star, and they can carry a squad of infantry. So a platoon of Warriors can carry a platoon of infantry. The infantry is the same, just with, Oh, here's something I should mention super fast. For the graphic design on the counters, we obviously replaced the American-style Desert Storm era camouflage with British desert camouflage that they wore in 1991, and of course we have a British flag on there. Other than that, these counters are going to look amazingly similar to the American ones. So the Warrior basically has a bigger gun. It has a 30mm instead of a 25mm, so it has 2 extra points here. Same movement factor as the Challenger. That's kind of why they invented the Warriors, because the old FV430s couldn't keep up with the Challenger. And the range is 10. Can carry a squad of infantry. It has automatic cannon on there and so on. Super easy. There's one company of those, 3 platoons, each one carrying a platoon of rifles, and a headquarters element. Also, a headquarters element, pretty much a half platoon for the Challengers. And then we have a little bit of a recon company. This is the Scimitar. This is one of my favorite vehicles ever. I just love the way it looks. The FV107 Scimitar. Again, the same 30mm. I think it's a Raiden autocannon. And then just to give some anti-tank capability, anti-tank missile capability, there is a platoon of FE-102 Strikers. So there's a whole family of vehicles, and Damon might know more about this than me, but there's a whole family of vehicles. The FE-102, FE-101, 102, 103, goes up to like 107. They're all, there's an ambulance version, a command version, the standard light tank reconnaissance version, that's the FE-107. This is the anti-tank version. This little, I think we see these in Team Yankee, the British Team Yankee set. A little missile rag pops up out of the back and it launches swing fires. Swing fire is a very nasty anti-tank missile. Easily the equivalent of the second generation tows, if not a little better. They've finally been replaced as of 2005 with the Javelins, but in 1991 those things were state of the art. And last but not least, we have a little, battalion command vehicle. Another variant of the FE, 101 series. This is the FE-105 Sultan. This is pretty much your, battalion command vehicle. Big cabin, lots of radios, lots of antenna. Don't lose that vehicle or your morale drops from an A to a B. So, any questions from either the chat or from Damon about the British or the Iraqi vehicles?
No, all looks good, mate.
Awesome. So as far as where the British were in Desert Storm, again, their main component, again, we're sticking with the ground ops. I'm not familiar with, the British operations during the air phase. But during the ground operations, we have UK 1st Armored Division, so it's right here. This little avenue, this little corridor, this is 7th Corps. This is Schwarzkopf's big, like I said, they famously call it the left hook. So picture a boxer throwing a left hook. And it swings around here, it gets behind most of the Iraqi um, main force divisions that were protecting what they thought was going to be the front line of the war, and splitting them off from a lot of these Medina, Nebuchadnezzar, Tawaklana, all these Republican Guard divisions back here. So there's like, the elite Republican Guard sort of, form a operational second line, while the poor slobs in the army guys kind of get shoved out front. They're getting massacred by the Marines, by the Saudis, by the Qataris. There's even a Kuwaiti element in there, and they're getting absolutely slammed from the front. The main idea is to hold this main force in place and convince the convince the Iraqis that the war is going to take place pretty much where the Iraqis are expecting it, right in the front door here, to retake Kuwait. What's really happening, of course, is Schwarzkopf is throwing this big hook out behind them. And then there's this force, which is much thinner on the ground. This is a lot of air mobile stuff. We see 101st, we see Gianna's old outfit, the 82nd, the French 6th Light. The 101st has a little air mobile detachment that gets put way the hell out here by helicopter. They pretty much drop a whole brigade, whatever the hell that is, like 60 miles behind behind Iraqi lines. And that's pretty much to screen the left wing of this big hook option that's swinging out this way, reaching the coast, reaching Basra, and pretty much slicing off the bulk of the Iraqi forces in here. So, again, there's 1st UK Division. That's the main British land force in this war. They cross the goal line here, and they go up, and again, so that big left hook, that's like a big curve, starting in the right and hooking over to the left, or reverse that, starting off in the left and hooking over to the right. UK 1st Division was the easternmost element in that overall 7th Corps effort. So they were pretty much the inside lane of this huge curve that's going out across the desert. They took part in what is easily considered the largest tank battle of the Gulf War. One of the largest tank battles in history. It's like number 3 in the world. There's Prokhorovka, there's Dubno, and then there's this one, with some other possible contenders in there. In 1973, Israel versus Egypt, and some battles in 1940. If you just count up sheer number of tanks, but this is definitely we'll be safe. This is easily one of the top 5 tank battles that's ever happened. It's the Battle of Norfolk, they call it, for some godforsaken reason. It's nowhere near Norfolk. I guess it was just like a call sign on a map. And we see U.S. 3rd, U.S. 2nd, U.S. 1st, UK 1st, plus, I don't even know, there's 10th, 12th, 52nd Iraqi armored divisions, the Talquana Republican Guard Division, at least 3 or 4 infantry divisions in there. It's a pretty big battle that pretty much takes place on the night of February 26th into the morning of the 27th. This is a big one. And the British were up to their necks in it. So, again, just to sort of get us started here, I have a force of 90th Brigade, 52nd Armored Division for the Iraqis set up here. These are not Republican Guard. These are straight out Iraqi Army. They're kind of set up here in this. This is pretty much the whole map. A lot bigger, a lot smaller than the map we had last time. They kept the force pretty small. There's 2 companies of T-55s. There's 1 company of T-62s and Type 69s hiding out back here. This is a little town here in the middle of the desert. This is one of the roads that leads to the border crossing between southern Iraq and western Kuwait. So the right-hand side of this map, we could sort of consider, the actual border of Kuwait. Again, 200 meters to the hex. We have elevation hexes. We have ridge hex spines. Of course, we're using desert rules for terrain. A lot of one thing the Iraqis were really well done is they were really well dug in. So there's a lot of IPs. Pretty much almost every Iraqi unit is in an IP of some sort, or maybe not everyone, but at least half is in an IP. There's a company of mechanized infantry in the back. Actually, maybe more than one. 1, 2, 3, 4. A reinforced company of mechanized infantry. in BTR 60s. What I really should say there is it's an understrength battalion. All these Iraqi ground units are hella understrength. Because remember, the ground war started like 24 February. The air war started 16 January. These poor bastards have been getting the shit bombed out of them for 6 weeks. None of these units are even close to full strength. So there's a grand total of, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 platoons of infantry. Rather than calling that a reinforced company, let's call that an understrength battalion. And again, those aforementioned tanks. There's one battery of Iraqi artillery on the table, way back here. I don't think it's going to be good enough to actually do anything against challengers, but I might use it to drop smoke or use what they call in Arab-Israeli wars interdiction fire. Interdiction fire is a low intensity bombardment over multiple hexes that what it allows you to do is you can't kill anybody with it. You can't even pin down anybody with it, but it impedes movement through a hex and all of its surrounding hexes. That's one of the optional rules in Arab-Israeli wars, just to try it out. And there's one unit of anti-tank BRDMs down here with AT-5s. So be careful of that. That's probably one of the scariest units on the table. Offensive-wise, he's a glass cannon. Obviously, he's got like 4 points of aluminum, between him and the Almighty. But other than that, he's ready to go with some AT-5s. All right. So if everyone's tired of hearing me run my mouth, a quick health check on the chat. Are we still live, Jen? Can you still hear us? Okay. Yes, because science teacher Stormin Norman did command British troops, like I was saying before. 1st Armored Division was subordinated for this operation to 7th U.S. Corps. So I think actually General Franks commanded this whole operation. And I can't remember the British division commander's name, Rupert something, commanded 1st Armored Division. So for this battle, he worked for an American Corps commander. That American Corps commander worked for somebody else, and then that somebody else, I can't remember, worked for Schwarzkopf, technically. Okay, so like I said, if everyone's tired of hearing me run my mouth, let's go ahead and get the game started. Damon, we're going to go ahead and, again, a play test. We're just going to try out these counters and see how it goes. So we have the British coming in from the west side of the board. Whenever you want, sir. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and get a new tab going. Like I always forget. Turn 1. Okay, cool. All right, Damon, at your convenience, if you want to start, I'll bring all your forces up. And you can bring your forces in along the west side of the table.
Yep. Let's see.
Let's get everything up in the right neighborhood here. Okay. Again, I'm not sure what size screen you're looking at on your end, Damon. So these are T-55s. Let me see if I can get this stupid thing to work. Cool. It's working for a change. These are T-55s down here in improved positions. More T-55s up here with like a little, company command vehicle or whatever. And then there's the one company of slightly better T-62s and Type 59s back here. And again, mechanized infantry, or technically motorized. Dismounted motorized infantry. These are 3 town hexes back here. And again, a second line of mostly dismounted motorized infantry. And, again, fair warning, there are anti-tank guided weapons down here in the south.
I think we'll come on the north ridge in the top left corner here. Start feeding in here.
Alrighty. You want me to zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, please.
Let me get that little company together.
So let's see. Um, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll drop the striker into 4017.
Got it. So that's the extreme west edge of the map. He just kind of rumbles up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he parks there for now.
Yep. We'll park the Warriors in 3918 and 3919.
3918 and 3919. Okay. So again, the rule is you're allowed to dismount if you use less than half of your movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're able to dismount if they want. It's up to you.
Not at the moment, no. We'll stay mounted for now. Then.
And then there's one platoon left. Did you want to stick them in one of the other hexes, or?
Oh, there's 3. Yeah, they'll drop into 4117.
He's playing cautious. I like it.
The scimitars will go.
These things are stupid fast. 14 movement.
Yep. What's 12, aren't they? So let's see. They will. 1, 2, 3. Their defense 4, aren't they? They're not hugely.
No, they are pretty much tissue thin.
Okay. Right, they'll drop into 3920 to start with.
Give me 1 second here. Whoa. There we go. 3920 is... Alright, cool. Okay.
And
then you have your command vehicle, your command platoon from your... well, here's what's left.
Oh, yeah.
Let me make sure I'm not leaving anything else down here. No. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they'll... the 2 HQ vehicles will drop into 4018.
That's the command vehicle for your... or command element for your mechanized infantry company. That's this guy right here. He's a little bit more of a combat unit, but then the guy that's definitely not a combat unit is your battalion commander here in the FE-105 Sultan.
Yep. And then the Challies will
here we go.
make some noise and will roll round the bottom end of this hill.
Yep.
So we've got 12, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So ending up somewhere around about...
Lose it a little bit.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll just demonstrate around 3521, 3620.
3620. 3620. Got it. Okay, that's first platoon. Are you going to put more than one platoon in there, or?
Yeah, first platoon and HQ in there, and second and third platoon in 3521.
Okay. Again, everybody, this was strictly kind of a play test, so we are we're going to be able to sort of skip a lot of the phases that is typical in a Panzer leader turn normally, i.e., there's air, artillery, a whole bunch of stuff. But for now, that's going to conclude British turn one because there was no fire phase. They obviously weren't on the board yet. They were coming onto the board. There's no air phase. There's no off-board artillery phase, so on and so forth. Right? Because science teacher, it's the legend is the redcoats are coming, not the British are coming, but that's incorrect. The actual line uh, that Revere and about 20 of his buddies used, it wasn't just Revere, was the regulars are coming. I don't know if you would call these guys regulars, but let's just say the Iraqis are probably feeling about the same way the American militia felt that night. A healthy dose of holy shit. Especially once these challengers showed up. All these warriors and strikers were showing up. They're like, it's okay. It's not too bad. Oh shit, here come the challengers. These T-55s are like, we're not getting paid enough for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, we're way outside of. You're still way outside of any of our engagement ranges, at least on this northern ridge. Southern ridge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, I do have some range here. It's extreme. I have to cut everything in half. But it's not like you don't have me spotted. Do I want to move with him instead? Okay, we're going to do the turn the correct way. So first, Iraqi turn starts with indirect artillery recording, if I want to do any indirect artillery. I will write down the hex I want to call in my indirect fire on. Again, guys, when you're doing indirect fire, what you have to do is you have to call it in and turn in advance. So the players will secretly write down the hex that they want that artillery to land on. And it lands at the beginning of their next turn. Okay, that's complete. Okay, now I go to my direct fire phase. Do I want to use any direct fire? I honestly don't know. Actually, wait a minute. Oh, he's behind the ridge. Never mind. Do I want to use any direct fire? It's kind of pointless, but just for demonstration purposes, yes. These two platoons of T-55s will open fire on these challengers. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see what's going on. This is a fool's errand, but again, just for demonstration purposes. 15 and 15. It becomes 30. Is my total attack factor. The number in the upper left-hand side there is the attack factor. The problem is these are firing with like 19, basically World War II ammunition. Solid shot, nothing discarding sabot, nothing fin stabilized, nothing depleted uranium. So what that's going to mean for them is they have to use the older columns on the what's called the weapons effectiveness chart. I have to cut my attack factor in half at any ranging exceeding half. So that 15 only counts at 15 out to half his range, which is 6. After that, it drops down to a 7.5. So pretty much these two 15s become one 15, 15 against 36, that is 1 to 1. No, sorry, 15 against 6 is 1 to 3, because you always round off in favor of the defender. So 1 to 3 is a pathetic attack factor. But again, we are talking about the Iraqis in 1991. Historically, most of this fighting also took place at night, and most of these T-55 units do not have night vision gear, so they're even more handicapped. So these atrocious Iraqi attack factors do make sense. Where the game becomes fair, for people who may not have streamed, hey, how you doing, Mac Gothamog? I always get your name wrong. I always call you Mac because I can never pronounce your name correctly. Where these games become fair, because the battle's totally unfair, where the game becomes fair is in the victory conditions. He might get 1 point for every one of my units he kills. According to Tactical Command Middle East, that's sort of the expansion that takes Panzer Leader into 1991, I get at least 5, if not 10, if not 25 points for every unit that I manage to kill. Some of these, like if I manage to actually kill a British tank platoon, it's insane. This battle took place historically. They didn't lose a single challenger, not one. Remember, every one of these platoons is, every one of these units, these counters on this table, is a platoon of 4 or 5 challengers. So if I destroy even one tank platoon of challengers, that's 5 challengers wrecked, as opposed to historically there were 0. So that's a huge upset, and the Iraqis would totally win that game. In this entire war, or not this entire war, in this entire campaign, this division took exactly 2 warriors destroyed. 2 of these. Oh, by the way, that was due to friendly fire. The Iraqis destroyed no armored combat vehicles. So, if the Iraqis in this game managed to destroy even a single armored fighting vehicle platoon of the British force, that's an Iraqi victory. That's asymmetrical gaming. He'll have to table me, and he has to table me. And if I destroy even one of his, not counting his infantry, but as far as his armored vehicles, if I destroy even one armored vehicle, I win, even if I lose every one of my units. However, we're about to see exactly how pathetic my forces are. So 1 to 3 is, again, 15 versus 36. Divide 36 by 15, you come up with more than 1 to 2, so it becomes 1 to 3. Again, you always round off in favor of the defender. Alright, Mac, let's see if my T-55s can knock out a challenger. I got a 1. That's the best possible roll in the game. That was an insanely lucky roll. However, didn't kill him. All that's going to do is disperse 1 platoon. That's 1 platoon pinned down. Pretty much I hit the platoon commander, or I knocked off his telescope, or blinded his night vision sight with some smoke or something. So that platoon is a little confused about where it is right now. That was an insanely lucky roll. If we look at the actual chart, 1 to 3, that was my combat odds. Again, that 15 divided by 36 comes into 1 to 3. And I literally needed a 1, was the only die roll that would have given, so there's the die roll. There's the die roll, and there's my result. I literally needed, at 1 to 3, I needed that 1. That was the only value that would have, the only result that would have given me any kind of a result. And just because I'm lucky, I did get it. Oops. Turn off the highlighter, please. Turn off the highlighter. There we go. There we go. So, that's my Iraqi fire phase. Nothing else can even reach. That was the best tank gunner in the Iraqi army right there. I can't believe he actually did that. Now, the bad news for the Iraqis is they can't move, because Iraqi units have to choose between movement and firing. Most British units can move and fire to a degree. It's called the split move and fire rule. It depends on the unit, but pretty much everything they have on the table can do that. So the units that did not fire are going to go ahead and move. And I think I've got Damon's number. So I have to cross, I'm still on high ground, and I had to cross that brown hex spine between hexes there. So that's going to cost me 1, 2, 3 instead of 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, this guy's gonna go there instead. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, he can only move 10. I forgot how slow these Iraqi units are. Of course, Damon, if you ever want to take opportunity fire, let me know. You can fire while I'm moving. 1, 2.
Yep, I think.
4. I'm pretty sure I'm out of range, but you may want to take a poke if you.
I think the swing fire might be able to clip one.
Oh, there you go.
Depends on the line of sight.
Where is he at? Oh, yeah, he's blocked by this. He's too far north. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see.
Oh yeah, that's all right. Yeah, it's the one I was.
He was looking at the north flank instead of the south flank. So moving some of these counters around. Yeah. So
yeah, I was looking.
If he's here, he can see. Okay. Just for people in the chat who might not be familiar, you can see through a colored hex side, like this brown hex side here. You can see through that if you're up against it. That's pretty much your vehicle is kind of parked hull down, like right behind that hex promontory or whatever, and he can shoot right down over it. But if you're at least one hex behind it, now it's an obstacle. So this striker can see to the north, he can see to the northeast, he cannot see to the southeast because he's blocked by this. And of course, friendly or enemy units, units in general never block line of sight. These challengers can barely reach some of these Type 62s and Type 69s if they want. It is long range.
Yeah, but they're in the open, so there's no modifiers for that. And 36-12, that's 3 to 1.
Yeah, and again, for people in the chat, while Damon's counting up his math, British tanks do not suffer the same penalties as Iraqi tanks do. British tanks get to use modern ammunition, i.e., they don't cut in half after 1/2 range. They get their full attack factor all the way out, and at less than half range, they double. And of course, they have a longer value anyway. Their value is 16. So out to 8 hexes, they're actually 112 per full platoon of challengers. And out to 16 hexes, that's 3,200 meters. That's about the maximum effective range I could find on an L11A5 gun. They are hitting at 56.
Yeah, we'll do one platoon at each of the ones that are moving in the open.
Okay. So the pinned down platoon cannot fire because he's like, what the hell's going on right now? However, you got 2 full platoons plus a command element that did see line of sight. I spent easily more than a quarter of my movement in your line of sight. So you saw. Now he's in range. You can fire at will. Are you going to fire all 3 of those, or?
Yeah, the HQ will fire at the 14 at 2 to 1.
Okay, go
and
ahead.
The other 2 will fire at the other 2 at 3 to 1.
Awesome. So the commander is actually going to shoot at my commander in my Type 69s. So this is normally a platoon is 4 tanks, guys. Super fast here. Again, I know you know this stuff, Damon, but again, we got people in the chat, maybe people watching later on YouTube. So this is a full platoon of 4 challengers. This is a half platoon of 2 challengers. This is your, in the American terms, it's a 66 and a 55. It's a commander and an XO. I think they call it a commanding officer and a 2IC in British terms. There's basically two more tanks, a half platoon, and that's why it has those somewhat reduced values. Okay, so the command tank and the 2IC are going to fire at 28 points. They do not have to cut in half. They hit the 14 at 2-to-1 odds. So go ahead and roll 2-to-1 odds. Here comes some British firepower.
A 4.
A 4 he is pinned down. Okay, now the scary ones. 56 plus 56 against 12. You divide that, you get 4-to-1. Again, you always lose the change. You always run hold on one second. Let me get the chart. You always round in favor of the defender. Come on, Excel. Keep up. So, oops. Hold on. Go away. I want. Alright, that's not working. Never mind. Try one more time. There we go. Okay. So I was firing at the 1-to-3 table before. He was firing on at least the 2-to-1 table. That was his command tanks versus my big tanks, or versus my Type 69s. Now he's firing his full platoons against my crappy T-55s. This, by the way, ask anybody who was there, this was huge in this battle. It was Challengers versus T-55s at long range. It's insane numbers. 56 divided by 12, that comes out to 4-to-1. So now you can see X is a kill. You can see the numbers he has to roll here. Pretty much he has to roll anything but a 6, which means he's going to roll a 6 now.
Thank you.
Even a 6 pins him down. So yeah, you got 2 platoons firing against 2 of my T-55 platoons. So roll the first one.
Jim, shut up.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
The 6.
First one was a 6. That is one lucky platoon of T-55s pinned down rather than destroyed. Second one?
The second one's a 6.
You rolled 2 6s? Oh, no.
Yep.
I'm sorry. All right. I will not say anything about rolling 6s anymore. Okay. This little group here, these are like Saddam's boys, man. These are the luckiest guys in the Iraqi army right now. Number one, they pinned down a platoon of Challengers. They shouldn't have done that. And then these guys got away with, they didn't get away. They got pinned down. But they survived being hit, not point blank, but they survived being fired at free and clear by Challengers. They should not have done that. We should be seeing some burning T-55s right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and complete the rest of my movement. I don't know if I want to do anything else right now. This guy's going to back up off this ridge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13. 11, 12, 13, 14. Let me not hide him and be cheesy. Alright. So those missiles are redeploying a little bit. My artillery's been called in. This platoon of T-55s is going to be sitting pretty for now. Alright, that pretty much wraps us up. For the Iraqi fire phase, the Iraqi movement phase, these guys were pinned down during the movement phase, which takes place after the attack phase. That's when they would make their rally, so they don't get to rally yet. It's the takeaway there. That's going to conclude Iraqi turn 1. Okay, turn 2 is set up. And we would normally start with your attack, with your indirect fire phase. You don't have any artillery in this game. We're keeping it super light and simple. We then go to the fire phase. Now those 3 platoons of Challengers, or actually 2.5 platoons of Challengers, have fired. So they do not get to fire this time. They took their fire phase early. That's what Opportunity Fire does. Now that pinned down platoon of Challengers does get to rally. That's part of his attack.
1.
He rallies.
Now I roll a 1.
For the record, one more advantage that the British have here. The British, obviously, this is a very elite British armored division. We're looking at morale A. An armored fighting vehicle rallies on anything but a 6. The Iraqis, by comparison, are morale D. They are conscripts, they are regular army, and they've had the crap bombed out of them for 6 weeks. And they know that they're up against like impossible odds here, so their morale is D. They only rally on a 1 or a 2. So once you pin down a platoon of Iraqi tanks, they're probably going to stay pinned down for a while. Iraqi infantry only rally on a 1. So the Iraqi army is at the end of its rope by the time the ground war even starts. By the time you start pinning down Iraqi units, they just start surrendering. As we saw, historically, it doesn't. They don't fight for very long. What I usually do is I make Republican Guard units a morale C. They do get a little bit of a bump, but again, there's no Republican Guard units on this table. So that concludes the fire phase for that company of challengers. They took their turn early, and then the one platoon rallied, so that's it for them. Any other direct fire?
No, there's nothing of any.
Well, we do have this again, only if you want to. I only bring it up because again, this is not like Arab-Israeli wars or World War II. The ranges here are probably beyond what we might be expecting to look at. This Striker platoon has easy range on these T-55s. Easy. And he does have line of sight to the north. Again, because of the way that ridge is shaped. Now, fair warning, he is hull down. He's behind that brown hex line, the T-55 platoon, and he is in an improved position. You have to add 3 to your tank. You have to add 3 to your result. But you do have him at 4 to 1. Only if you want to. And that Striker has a G plus for his tack class. He does not run out of swing fires. He's not like your Bradleys last time. We get to fire once. He fires all day. That vehicle's whole purpose is to fire swing fires.
Actually, I'm planning on moving him south. I think
Okay.
I need his firepower. So he's actually going to move in the movement phase.
Sweet. Yeah, he's not a turret at AFE. He's actually probably your only unit that does not get to use split move and fire. So if you want to move him, yeah, don't fire him. Okay, so then we'll go to movement. Now, even though all those challengers have technically attacked, they still get to move half because they are turreted AFEs. They do get the split move and fire roll.
Yep. So the swing fire is going to go south a bit and drop in with the scimitars.
Got it. He does that with no problem. Backs up off the ridge, heads south, jumps back up on the ridge. 1, 2,
Yep.
3. Yeah, he did that like with hard. He didn't come out of second gear. He did that.
So can you just zoom out a little bit, please, Jim?
Yep.
Just want to see how close I am to the tanks to the south and to the missile carrier.
These desert boards are big, folks. These desert boards are huge. A lot of space.
Where did that missile carrier go?
He went in here.
In centre, yeah. And he's got a range of, is it 16?
I don't think it's that long. Come on. Yeah, it is 16. Yeah. Yeah, he redeployed to, up to the north a little bit.
Well, we're still fairly safe from him. Half range.
One last thing, guys. I realize I still have the border going there. Let's see if we can zoom out this for our audience here. If we can zoom that out a little bit, get a little bit more map real estate showing on our screens. Because sign Sitrep was supposed to remind me of that. I always forget to remove that Sitrep branding frame. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, there's a big twitch lag there. Sweet. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Complete your movement.
Um, so we're going to head. The challengers are going to head southwest,
Okay.
Southeast even. And they're going to end up. Can you zoom in just a little bit, just north of the road junction, please, Jim?
The road junction. All right.
Just want to see the hex numbers. That's it. Yep. Um, we'll advance. The two platoons will advance to 3124.
He does that with no problem because he gets half his movement.
And the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other platoon will join them.
All three in the same hex?
In that hex. Yep. And the HQ will drop into 3222. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think that'll do for now.
All right. Any movement from your MC80s or your warriors, I should say?
No, because they're just big. If they go anywhere, they're just big targets.
All right.
They can't avoid fire. Actually, they'll drop off the ridge.
Okay, so backing up off the ridge, or
yeah, they'll go one hex south.
and this guy as well.
Yeah, he'll go 2 hexes south.
2 hexes south puts him in an overloaded hex. He can go here.
Sorry, yeah, southwest
Got it.
rather than south, sir. And the other one will do the same. Drop into 4020.
Yeah, they're out of range of that T-55, but yeah, you never know.
Artillery can annoy them.
Yeah, and again, if he loses a single AFE platoon, that's game. Because in most historical games, folks in the chat, what we're talking about here is as far as like when the game is fair or whatever, like what your victory condition should be, you use history as your guide. So if no British AFVs were lost in this battle except through friendly fire, if the Iraqis managed to knock out one platoon, of IFVs. Never mind one platoon, one single AFV, one platoon of AFVs. That is obviously a far worse result than the British managed to achieve historically. So, ergo, a game lost for the British player. Okay, now we go to, if that's going to conclude your turn, we'll go over to Iraqi turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Iraqi turn 2 is going to start with me calling in my next turn's artillery. Okay. The next phase is I execute the artillery I called in last turn. So turning on Mr. Webcam. Alright, I will hide my current artillery, but my previous turn's artillery was an interdiction mission landing at 2823. Is what I called in last turn. So that is going to be, I have to make a super fast piece for it here. Hold on a second, guys. I should have had this done beforehand. But easily fixed. So again, an interdiction mission is one of the optional, or actually not optional, advanced rules in Arab-Israeli wars, which is the third edition of the Panzer Leader series, which this is basically based off of. So 2823 was the hex that I called it in on. It affects that hex and all the hexes around it. So it's pretty much a circular pattern, obviously. And that's Iraqi 130 millimeter artillery shells. An interdiction fire mission has to have at least 9 points of fire into it. This one definitely does, so it definitely applies. Anytime you try to move through one of those yellow hexes, you have to make a die roll. If you succeed in the die roll, it's no problem. You move right through it. If you fail in the die roll, you have to stop. You cannot be pinned down, and you cannot be killed. When I say pinned down, I mean you can't be dispersed. It can do no actual damage to you, but it can potentially slow you down. I thought maybe Damon was going to make another push down that road, so I called in some interdiction fire ahead of him to potentially slow him down as he moved through some of those hexes. But anyway, he didn't go through it. So again, that's part of the danger in the indirect fire rules in a more realistic game like Panzer Leader, where you have to call it in a turn in advance. You have to pretty much guess where you think the enemy's going to be, and call the artillery in ahead of them. That's where you get a little plotty with your hex grid beforehand, and you literally start calling in fire missions. Grid reference 2823, fire for effect, splash over, and there's nobody there, and you feel like a bit of a jackass, but no worries. Okay, then we go to direct fire phase. Direct fire phase. This would have been nice if I had another platoon of T-62s to help out, but they're all pinned down, so they're not doing anything right now. That's these guys down here. These guys are like, oh look, these challengers, they're coming a lot closer. What can we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're now within half range, so I'm no longer cut in half.
Mm-hmm. You're blind by the brown hex line, though, aren't you?
Actually, no, I don't think I am. Oh, actually, yes, I am. You are correct. He's like lined up perfectly where I don't see. Yep, see? Damon's learning this game. There you go. Good maneuver. Yes, those T-55s have no line of sight on a good target. And the commander is likewise blinded because of this brown hex spine. The wing of my own ridge has me somewhat blinded there. Good use of terrain, Mr. Damon. I've taught you too well, my young Padawan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All this motorized mechanized infantry is out of range. I might have a small shot over here. Ooh, they're blinded. I can't see that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, they're going to take that shot. That is, again, 15 plus 15 is 30. Divided by 2 gives them a greater than half range, firing old ammunition. Is 15 against 36. Again, a 1 to 3 shot. I would have rather taken a poke at this guy, the command element. He's easier to kill because there's only 2 tanks there. But I don't think I can see past my own ridge again. Ooh. Let me make sure on that. So I'm going to move him out of the way just for a second because I have to get a very accurate measurement here. So, people in the chat, you'll notice that all the hexes on this board have a little dot in the center of it. The reason being is that's your reference point. You have to measure directly from the center of the dot to the center of the hex. And that's the official legal tournament or whatever line of sight. You'll see that it barely nicks this brown hex side here between 2218 and 2219. There's a little spur coming off this razorback ridge that these T-55s cannot see past. On a physical board, because this game obviously starts off as a physical game, you buy in a box, you see players walking around with spools of black thread, and they wrap it around their 2 fingers, and that's how they measure lines of sight. They get very, very precise with the line of sight. And the reason, again, there's a dot in the center of all the hexes is that's your official, because you can see how close it gets. If there's ever like a bit of a, like, is that really touching that corner or not? Again, you always round in favor of the defender. So any reasonable Panzer leader player would say there's no line of sight between those 2 hexes. So I cannot hit that command element, even though I'd like to. I'll shoot at the main platoons down here. There's clearly a line of sight there. The good news for the Iraqis is I have support from my friends here in the north. Make sure I have range on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Barely. This is extreme range for those T-55s. Okay, so now I have 45 divided by 2. Again, 3/15 is 45. I have to divide it in half because of the range and my ammunition type. Becomes 22 and a half, basically 23, versus 36. So at least I'm no longer on the 1 to 3 table. Now I'm on the 1 to 2 table. So if you took 36 and divided by 23, you would wind up with more than 1 to 1. So it has to be 1 to 2. Always round in favor of the defender. I'm going to keep saying that, because that's one of the few cardinal rules in Panzer Leader. All right, so 23 modified versus 36 is a 1 to 2. A 1 or a 2 will pin down another platoon. I cannot kill him. That's another 1. That's 2 1s in a row. These Iraqis are on fire, relatively speaking.
That's the plan.
Yeah, right. Now, if you actually look up the rules in TCME, Tactical Combat Middle East, the Iraqis do get victory points for dispersing tank platoons. They get like 1 point for every time I disperse one. So technically right now the score is 2 to 0. Again, the combat units and the capabilities and the relative strengths of the units are wildly unfair in favor of the British. What makes the game counterbalance that, or whatever, is the scoring system. The asymmetrical scoring system is wildly unfair in favor of the Iraqi player. The secret, how do you get a fair game out of an unfair battle? Okay, so that's it for my fire phase. That was these 3 tank platoons. These 2 tank platoons don't have any targets. These 3 tank platoons are going to try to rally. Now again, they are morale D, which isn't great. Those 2 T-55s, those two T-62s are going to go ahead and try and rally. A 4 and a 5, they both fail. Those would have been 2 successes for the British, but for these Iraqis, they fail. The Type 69s, they do succeed on a 1. People in the chat / YouTube, as you probably figured out now, low rolls are better in Panzer Leader. 6 is the worst roll you can get almost all the time. And Saint Vitus Dancer, how you doing? Gianna, I do apologize. I was not able to get into Restream.io to change the title of the stream in our other platforms, so it still shows the wrong value. for I should say the wrong title. I tried to get in there, it's got me locked out. That's the reason I did not get a chance to do that. As far as our dice mat goes, this is literally a sheet of paper in a cardboard box. I can send you the file if you want. Print it out and put it in the bottom of your put it in the bottom of your dice box somewhere. But yeah, we got to do our best here to stay on brand whenever we can. Okay, so that's it for the Iraqi attack phase. Iraqi movement phase. Those northern T-55 platoons cannot move. These guys cannot move because they're still pinned down, or these guys attacked. That is technically their attack phase. These two rally. And Iraqi tank platoons do not get the split move and fire rule, whether they're turreted AFVs or not, because they're not well trained, comparatively speaking. These two guys, however, did not fire, so I think they're going to move. They have to get off the ridge to get good movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what? They're going to stay there. I take that back. These clowns, however, are going to continue their flanking maneuver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a company of Iraqi tanks sneaking around behind you. Let me make sure I didn't go too far. I got a peep around the corner of this ridge. Okay, we're good. I got 150. I got a 100 millimeter DT-10 round ready for your brigade commander. Here it comes. I got a Deuce ready for all those little infantry guys. Other Iraqi movement. I'm fine for now. Everybody that can move has moved. Except for this guy, which I'm happy we'll keep leaving him where he is right now. Okay, that will conclude our Iraqi turn 2. British turn 3.
Right. So, direct fire. We'll do a bit of shooting at the stuff that's parked in the open.
Okay. So, which firing unit and which targeted unit?
The two platoons are going to engage the two dispersed platoons.
Oh no. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, you're at more than half range, but it doesn't matter because again, you're using different ammunition than I am, so you don't have. You just don't double. So you're at 56 versus 12. 56 versus 12 is 4 to 1, and I'm already dispersed. That means you subtract 1 from your die roll. So even if you roll a 6, it gets read as a 5. Because I'm dispersed, I'm already basically half dead. Here's another problem for me. Here's the 4 to 1 table. Okay, this is the worst number he can roll is a 6. Even if he rolls 2 more 6s, again, those are read as 5s, that kills me anyway. Even if he somehow rolled a 7, which I know is impossible, but basically a double D means that a unit that is already dispersed is killed. So there's 3 results here. Again, I know you already know all the stuff, Damon, but again, for people on YouTube and so on. X is a KIA. A double D or a D means dispersed. That unit is pinned down and it can't fire or move until it rallies. And of course a dash means no effect. The difference between 2 Ds and 1 D is if the unit is already dispersed, that's basically pinned in other games. If the unit is already dispersed and you roll a double D, it's now considered killed. If the unit is already dispersed and you roll a regular D, then he's just still pinned down or whatever. That's the difference between a double D and a D. So the point of that long story is that, get ready for a shot. Long story short, on the 4-to-1 table, even if he rolls a 6, I'm automatically dead two different ways. Number one, he rolls a double D. Number two, he has to subtract 1 from the die roll anyway because I'm dispersed. That comes out to be an X in any event. It doesn't matter. Either way, death is automatic. He doesn't even have to pick up plastic. That is 2 burning platoons of Iraqi T-55s. Actually, no, Iraqi T-62s. So you and you get wrecked. That's it for them. Wreck counter there. Wreck counter there. Score is now tied at 2-2.
And the HQ will fire at the other one.
Okay, 28 versus 14. That's 2-1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're greater than half range, so you don't double. It's a straight out 2-1.
A 3.
A 3 is dispersed. He is repinned. All right. Any other direct fire? Those strikers might want to take a poke at something.
Yep, they're going to have a go at the. They can see the guys on the hilltop, can't they? Can they? So that crest line.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, they have to add 3 to their die roll, but they do see them. So it's 50-12 if you're engaging 1 platoon. That's 4-1. That's the good news. Bad news is I am hull down. I'm behind a brown hex spine, directly behind a brown hex spine. So only like half of my tank is visible. Pretty much just the gun and the turrets popping out over that Razorback. And number 2, he's in, again, for people in the chat, an IP, improved position. So the Iraqis dug all their tanks in. The Iraqis love to dig in their tanks. They had just gotten through a long, more or less static war against Iran for 8 years, and they kind of figured this war was going to be very similar. Turns out it wasn't. But the long story short is, take a shot. Iraqi tanks are always half buried in the sand. So that tank is not exactly in a fort, but he is dug in by both the natural contours of the topography and his own artificial engineering works. He has adding 3 to his die roll if you want to take a missile shot at him. So are you going to go ahead and do that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
So it's 4-1, add 3 to the die roll. You can still kill him.
A 3.
A 3 becomes a 6, he's dispersed. Barely. A 1 or a 2 would have killed him. Okay, that's the power of field fortifications there. Okay, any other fire? If not, it's time to rally those challengers.
5.
He rallies barely. That's that Class A morale. There are usually 4 classes of morale in this game, everybody. A, B, C, and D. Some games do include a morale E, but we won't get into that. There will be a morale E if he kills one of my headquarters units. Because when you kill a headquarters unit, the battalion gets a save, and if you fail to save, there was no good second in command there, or the commander was killed in the explosion or whatever, and the unit will drop a command level. So even though I'm already at the bottom of the command scale, or the D, if he kills my commander, I'm going to go 1 level lower. And that's when you have, morale E, which Damon has some experience with against those Ukrainians on Gold Beach. Once you kill the commander of a Class D unit, then you just start pinning people down. They never get a chance to rally. They rally on a 0, which obviously you can't roll. That's when the game becomes a shooting gallery.
Okay, good. Right, so moving. What we'll do, 2 platoons of
Okay.
tanks will advance southeast to what is it, 3025.
Southeast to 3025. 2 platoons of tanks. I got you. Just 2 hexes?
Yep.
Okay.
And the HQ and the other one will go west.
Okay. Back to head off that threat to the back.
Yep.
All right.
They'll both meet up in 3722.
My interdiction fire, artillery fire, scared them away. All my Iraqis give a mighty cheer. Except not really. Okay. I would take opportunity fire, but you're now out of range. Distance is your ally when you're playing either the British or the Americans in these Gulf War games. I mean, he literally just turned around, blew smoke in my face, and showed me his engine deck. You know, in front of a fortified ridge of tank guns. It's like, hello, you should so be dead right now, except all my shells land in the dirt, like right around here. It's all about distance. Those are 200-meter hexes. Every one of those hexes is usually like a 15 millimeter game table. So, this would be thousands of 15 millimeter game tables. That's just to give an idea of the actual scale of these battles. And there's only like a couple hundred tanks on the table, or in this case, a couple dozen. That's how spread out some of these 1991 tank battles really were, and how hard it would be to do this stuff effectively in miniature.
Mm.
Okay.
Even when we used to play 10 mil years ago, we used to run out of table so quick.
Yeah, 10 or 6, like GMQ Micro Armor or whatever, GHQ Micro Armor. You got to go to maybe 6. And others may disagree, but once you get below 6, you might as well just go to hex encounters at that point. But yeah, GHQ Micro Armor's been doing it at 6 mil since the 60s. And even then, those games are not to scale. So the units are 6 mil, but the table might be God knows what. Because every vehicle in GHQ Micro Armor is like this. It's a platoon of 4 or 5. It's not WYSIWYG. Once you get away from WYSIWYG or true line of sight gaming, now, even in miniature, now you're, again, unlimited the same way you are in hex encounter gaming. That's why I don't understand why more people don't do that kind of miniature. I mean, I know everyone loves miniatures. I totally get that. Just walk away from the true line of sight stuff. Walk away from the WYSIWYG. One tank equals one tank. There are games out there since the 60s that do it that way, and they're miniatures, and their tables look awesome. You get the best of both worlds. But hey, whatever. To each of their own. Okay, any other movement or fire? Well, actually, we've already done fire. We're now in the movement phase.
Yep.
Friendly suggestion: do any of those warriors maybe want to dismount their infantry? Because there might be a small tank battle coming up in the back half of the board here coming up, and it's usually a good idea to have the infantry out of the
Yeah, might as well.
Out of the APC. Any movement before they do that, or are they happy where they are? They can move. They can move
Um,
up to half and then dismount. Just be careful they don't expose themselves to opportunity fire. That one lead platoon at
they might as well
T51.
drop where they are for now.
Okay. Oops. Infantry is out of the track. The tracks, or I should say the warriors, can now move half their movement if they choose.
They'll just pivot right and wait for the arrival of the Iraqis.
This guy technically has movement, has a shot now.
That's what,
It's
8 points,
it's
and
not a great shot. It is, but it is
1 to 2, isn't it?
It's 1 to 3.
1 to 3. Is it? Oh, it's 6. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's 8, but it's 8. And it gets cut in half because you're not firing fin
All right.
stabilized.
Yep.
Actually,
Yep.
that's autocannon. Sorry, that would be 8 to 12. It would be 1 to 2. Yeah, some warriors did kill T-62s historically with Sabo ammunition. They did make tiny miniature 30mm Sabo ammunition for that. I actually ran across that reference just this morning. So it would be 8 to 12 is 1 to 2. Only because you're at extreme range.
It's worth to try and suppress one.
Okay.
That one that's got its nose sticking out. It's worth just seeing if I can disperse him.
He's down there getting cute.
With a 5, no.
Nope, missed.
With a 5, no.
For those following in the chat, we're talking about that shot right there. Okay. All right, any other movement, or are we going to call your turn?
Yeah, we'll call it at that.
Cool. Iraqi turn 3. All right, I got to call in new artillery. Okay, new artillery is now called in. Which means I now reveal last turn's artillery. That is Hex 3920, a high explosive mission. And 3920 is boom right there.
Yep.
So that's my D30 howitzer. I'm sorry, my M46 howitzers. They have a 13 H class, 130 or D46. Sorry, my 130mm HE shells. It's H, so it's not anti-tank, which is good news. That 13 reduces by half using indirect fire. For people in the chat who may be wondering, all those, when does it half, when does it double, when do you get this bonus, when do you get that bonus, that's all driven off of what they call the weapons effectiveness chart right here. I know this chart looks big and complicated and scary, and it kind of is, but in any single given game, you will only use maybe a quarter of this. This chart will drive Panzer Leader games between 1939 and 1999, and anywhere in between. So you don't always use even close to the majority of this. But for now, we're talking about an artillery mission versus armored targets. That's not the best tool for the job. So I'm looking at 13 becomes 7.5. Sorry, it becomes 6.5, so we'll call it 7. Versus a 4, versus a 4, versus a 4. So basically, I got 3 1-to-1s. So against the first scimitar platoon, a 1, he's dispersed. Against the second scimitar platoon, a 1, he's dispersed. Holy shit with these dice. That's like, what, my 5th 1 in a row? And against the striker platoon, a 2, that's also dispersed. Okay, I'm changing out these dice. Because these dice are actually becoming a little embarrassing at this point. Oh my god. Alright, how are these guys doing? Alright, that's a little more reasonable. Alright, so for now, these guys are dispersed. That is technically 3 more Iraqi points. The score right now
And
is...
that's messed up my defensive fire plan for when the tanks appear.
And, also this interdiction fire goes away. That's... Ooh, let me not delete the piece. In case I do more interdiction fire later. Okay, that's it for... That's it for, whatchamacallit. Our Iraqi artillery fire. My next artillery fire is called in. Now we go to my direct fire. Alright, direct fire. That lead platoon of T-55s in the south is going to shoot back at that platoon of warriors back here.
Warriors.
15 divided in half becomes 7.5. Basically 8 versus 6, 1 to 1. Because he's at extreme range. Get that 4 out of there. A 6. That's a clean miss. Alright, so that shell missed. And there's no damage there. Other fire. I still have no line of sight here. I think I'm out of range here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Out of range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Barely in range. Alright, I'm going to take a 1 to 3 shot from this platoon, or from these two platoons only, because this guy's out of range. So that's going to be 15 versus 36. Again, 1 to 3. 3, no effect. Because at that column, I need a 1 to actually do anything. This guy still has no line of sight on anybody. Really. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He has line of sight on those dispersed light armor up there. I just can't reach them. Again, for the Iraqis, range is the killer. Cool.
Can see the HQ, not the platoon, can he?
Yeah, but again, it's going to be a half shot. A half firepower shot. So it will be 8 against... Is that even legal? 8 versus 24 is barely 1 to 3. Again, I have to roll a 1 even to pin him down. 6, that's the opposite of a 1. Okay. Now I'm going to try to rally first this T-55 platoon, then this Type 69 platoon. T-55s. 2 barely rallies, and then the Type 69s. 5 definitely do not rally. That is technically their attack phase. Okay, moving over to Iraqi movement. Not moving, not moving, not moving. He's happy in his little improved position. Yeah, that'll be it for my movement. And that's going to conclude the turn. Because I've already failed my other rally check, and... Yeah, you can see how bad it is when you're playing the Iraqis and they can't move and fire in the same turn. Me launching this attack, which should be like a lightning blitz into his flank here, is going to turn into this 2-turn ordeal, which gives him more than enough time to, organize a new defense. When you're the Iraqi player, or the Soviets versus the Germans, or the French against the Germans, or, who knows, the Egyptians against the Israelis, in all these games, one side is always going to be just a little bit more agile than the other, and that just comes down to the history. And the rules bake that into account, or take that into account, and that's where you wind up with your somewhat realistic historical feel. At least from an at least from an academic sense. Aim for the hex with sand, says because science teacher. There's plenty of hexes with sand. Although I'm sure the Iraqis would still find a way to miss if they were shooting at the sand. How did you miss the planet? Trust me, we found a way, sir. Don't worry about it. Okay, it is your fire phase. Turn 4.
So they just popped up on the ridge on the hill, yes?
Yep.
And we can see them.
Sadly.
So let's give them a reception. So we've got all of the auto cannons.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My other option was to overrun, which would have been a death ride, but it would have been fun. But if I had more tanks in the south there, I would have gone for an overrun.
Yep. So all of the auto cannons.
Oof. Okay. Make sure they're all in range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, 8, 8, and 8. That's 24.
1, 2, 3. 24 against 12. That's 2 to 1 minus 2 for cover. Yes.
Minus
plus
1.
2 for cover. Yes.
Plus 1 for
plus 1. Okay.
Again, advantage for the non-Soviet player number 916. Non-Soviet AFVs, in other words, as long as you're not a Soviet tank, you get plus 2 cover for IFV. That's because of the limited depression of Soviet tanks. The gun only goes down so far. So by the time I can shoot over top of my own cover, much more of my tank is showing. So Soviet AFVs get a plus 1 for, this is right out of Arab Israeli Wars. So, Soviet tanks get a plus 1, other tanks get a plus 2. You were shooting against plus 3 before because there's a IP in there. That's the plus
2. Oh yeah. So we've got 3 platoons of warriors.
Yep.
Warrior HQ.
Oh yeah, that's going to be another 4. So that's 28.
Yep. 28. That's still 2 to 1, isn't it? The HQ for the tanks.
Yep. 28 plus 28 makes 56. Now you're at 4 to 1.
Yep, so they'll shoot at one tank, and the other tank platoon will shoot at another tank. Is that allowed?
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. You want to do 28 versus one tank and 28 versus another tank?
All of the auto cannons.
Yep.
And the HQ vehicle.
Yep.
The Challenger HQ vehicle.
Yep.
Will shoot at one tank.
Yep.
And the other tank platoon will shoot at the other tank platoon.
Absolutely allowed. The only thing you're not allowed to do is divide. Yeah, you can. You definitely can do that. So.
Gives me 2 4-1 shots at plus 1.
I lied. Here's the math. It's good news. Trust me.
Oh, I'm within 8.
Yeah, 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 4. That's your rating 30 millimeters. They don't that A star. They don't have versus soft targets. They don't double. They're always 8. They just spray bullets. Nice and simple. That 28 doubles because you're within 8 hexes. So your Sabo ammunition that you're not supposed to be using, you have to answer the brigade after the battle, but that's okay. Now you're at 84. Divided by 12, 7 to 1 odds, right on the money. 7 to 1, add 1 to the die roll because I am hull down shielding. Again, I have my little Razorback Ridge there. And yeah, just go ahead and roll. Here is your column. Come on, baby. Here's your column. Roll 1d6, except now you're on the 7 to 1 column.
I have a 1.
A 1. Jeez. The one time you don't need a 1. A 5 would have killed me. But okay, that's one tank platoon kill, definitely for sure. Now the other one is even worse. That's 56 times 2. It's a full platoon. And again, he's firing Sabo depleted uranium ammunition at less than half range. And 56 doubles to 106. I'm sorry, to 112. Wait, what was it again? 56 or 54? Not that it super matters at this point. 56. So 56 times 2 is 112 divided by 12. Yeah, you're past 7 to 1, dude. You do have to add 1 to the die roll for hold down shielding.
Another one.
Another one. Boom.
I roll them when I don't need them.
Yeah. And that is 2 more Iraqi platoons. Get wrecked! They are burning brightly. Now it's starting to look like the Gulf War. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. All puns, all grizzly puns not intended. Okay, I believe that's it for your fire phase.
Mm-hmm. The other 2 platoons.
Oh yeah, these guys down here. Sorry, I forgot about them.
Yep. So, now shall we finish off that T-62, or shall we give the good news to the other one?
You don't have line of sight on the other ones yet, unless you're talking about this guy up here.
The one that's dispersed in the open. Can I still see him?
Yes.
Yep. And the ones on the hill, I can see them.
Yep.
In the northeast. So 58 to 14, 28, 28 to 56. I've got a 4-to-1 shot on a dispersed target.
That's insta-kill.
One of them.
Insta-kill.
Yep.
In fact, it's almost
and
it
then,
is overkill. But here's what you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to divide one tank platoon among different hexes. This is why when you're playing the Iraqis, Syrians, Russians, when you're playing the underdogs, so to speak, spread out. Because even a challenger can only kill T-55s one at a time. But if you stack them all up in one hex,
so we'll do that.
Now you can kill 2 or 3 of them at a time. All right, so one platoon fires here.
Yep.
And that's like not even funny. Get fucked. He is wrecked and on fire. Okay. And now what's the other platoon doing?
They're going to fire at that one that's harassing them from the northeast.
Okay. Now, that is going to be a tougher one because you got 56. Oh, by the way, that first 56 was doubled. So it was 112 versus 14. Subtract 1 from the die roll on a dispersed unit. Excuse me. The number of ways that guy has a one-way ticket to Allah already punched is just beyond the rules. He's just dead. That tank left the desert and landed in another dimension somewhere. It's gone. Now, the other guy, however, has...
It's raining bits of steel in Baghdad.
Yeah, it's... Well, let's see. He's pointing southeast. They're like halfway... So he landed somewhere in the Persian Gulf somewhere. Yeah, he's bounced off an oil.
Landed on the deck of a carrier.
There you go. Hey, look at this, the Navy guy says. Now I can tell my grandkids I was in this war. Okay, so I got some souvenir wreckage. So, now this guy has a bigger... It's still a possible kill. 56, long range, does not double. So it's 4-to-1. Add 3 to the die roll for hold down shielding and improve position.
Right. 4.
4. Now here you could have used the 1. 4 becomes a 7. That is dispersed. I believe I can get pinned down. Yes, he is pinned down. Barely. Which for an Iraqi tank platoon is almost as good as a kill, because again, they rally not so hot.
Right, so it's...
for those watching at home, the score is now tied at 5-5. 5 kills versus 5 dispersals.
So it's rallies now, yeah?
Yep. Just roll them one at a time, because there are different units in that hex.
Yep. There's 2 scimitars and a swing fire. Striker, yeah? Yep. Okay, so the white dice is the striker. 2 yellow dice for the scimitars. The scimitars both roll a 1, the striker rolls a 3.
Alright, so they all rally, because as long as they roll a 5 or less. Now, they can move because they're technically turreted AFVs. The only one that can't move by the strict rules of the game is the striker. He's not a turreted AFV.
Let's see now. Did you carry on shooting at me, or have you shifted your fire? I'm going to assume you're still shooting at me, so they're going to move into 38-20, the two that can move.
They're coming over the ridge.
The swing fire's gritting its teeth and putting his fingers in his ears.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually the rule as written. I may have to revisit that with another dining room table publication rewrite. For actual split move and fire, that totally makes sense. A guided missile has to guide the rocket in, or guide the missile in, and it can't move while it's doing that. I understand all that. The weird caveat, this is where the game gets a little abstract, is technically its rally was his attack. That was what he was doing during the combat phase. He was doing something during the combat phase. So that's why he can't displace. It doesn't make sense in a realistic sense because he wasn't firing. He's not guiding a missile anywhere. But then you have to get into, well, your split move and fire vehicles can move. Okay, then we go over to Iraqis. Can Iraqis scoot after they rally? And, it becomes all big mess. So that is one of the tiny corner case rules where it does deliver a little bit of a weird result.
No, it still makes sense. Let's see now.
95% of the time, yes. It's just this is one of those 5%ers. All games have to do that eventually. You have to, draw a line around what makes sense most of the time, and then sooner or later you have to, it is a game.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they've got the Warriors have got half move left because they all fired, haven't they?
Yep.
It's half move to load your infantry.
Yep.
So they would basically be stationary.
Correct.
If they reloaded. Or he's going to shoot again. That's the most likely thing. He's going to shoot again. Just have to take the risk. Unless we give him something that he's got to shoot, you can't ignore. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What I should have done with those guys in the south, I should have tried to overrun some of your. Where were they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could have overrun that southernmost platoon of warriors. The odds of me making it across that open field through all the 4100 hexes, 41, 25, 24, 23, are not great at all. In fact, they really suck. But if at least one of those platoons had made it, I would just have to count on some of that patented Damon dice rolling. You throw a couple more of those You throw a couple more of those 6-dot bricks out there on opportunity fire phase. I get across there and I overrun one platoon of Raidens or one platoon of warriors. That's it. But that's not sound gameplay. Oh God! No, plus these guys, you gotta remember how far range these freaking tanks can shoot. Yeah, even if you rolled 6s, you would have killed pretty much everybody.
So for the movement, one of the tank platoons, the one tank platoon with the HQ, will move west into 4121, staying out of 6
He's
of
back to the start line.
Staying 6 hectares away from, and he will point his nose south.
Yep.
And look belligerent.
That T-55 tank platoon will shit its pants and probably run the other way. Meanwhile, your brigade commander's coming up that road going, "You're going the wrong way!"
They say, just look over there, sir.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Carry on.
We'll be under this bush. Right, the other two. Now, 30. Double the range is 60. Against 36. It's still not 2 to 1.
While you're counting that, because Science Teacher, that gameplay gets brought in later in the... that gets put in the editing afterwards. Actually, I probably could get that going on Microsoft Windows Media Player and just have it in a loop. Now that I think about it. You're talking about the sound effects, because Science Teacher? Or some music or something. I might look into that later on. The problem is that's just another application open on my poor tired laptop here, and it's going to be even more fan buzzing in the background. But I don't know if you guys can hear the fan terribly bad right now. But it's already going. So it wouldn't make any more noise. In fact, the music or sound effects might actually help drown out a little bit of the sound. The fan. You know what? That's actually not a bad idea. Assuming my laptop doesn't melt. So I've got my web conference going now. I got OBS. I got my webcam. I have Excel, obviously. This is a big Excel file. Oh, you know what I do have? I can close this. My Google Chrome. That's going to save me some RAM. To run one of these streams, guys, it's 4 pretty big tools. Which is why you probably hear a laptop cooling fan buzzing away in the background.
Okay, this pair on the road.
Yep.
Are going to move to 32-20-28, head south-southwest.
You're trusting that Chaba, aren't you?
In Chobham we trust.
In Chobham you trust. You're about to. I'm never going to get a better shot than that. Probably won't be enough. Also, this guy's probably out of range at this point. Oh God, yeah. Okay, is that going to conclude your movement?
Yep.
All right, Iraqi turn 5. Or, sorry, Iraqi turn 4. I'm calling in artillery for turn 5. Alright, artillery called in for next turn. Artillery from last turn impacts this turn is again on hex 3920. Everybody's out of there except for the strikers. Strikers are being hit on a 7 to 4. That is a 1 to 1. Because again, the striker is technically an armored vehicle. So my H class of 13 gets divided in half to a 6.5, rounds up to 7. 7 divided by 4 is still technically only 1 to 1. 4, no effect. That striker gets to move and fire. He is unfazed by the Iraqi artillery fire. Okay, now we go to direct fire. Because my artillery just shit the bed. Direct fire is going to be pretty obvious. I have very little of it because most of my tanks have been destroyed. I have two 15s that do not double. They only double at 2 hexes. Again, I'm using a different scale of range bonuses, guys, because I have different ammunition. So, British tanks and American tanks and German tanks and even T-72s and more advanced stuff that fires better ammunition doubles out to half, and between half and full range just gets normal attack factor. Within half range, it gets double attack factor. If you're firing quote-unquote World War II ammunition, basically AP, solid cap or whatever, it is doubled only out to 2 hexes. Out to half your range, it's normal, and out to beyond your half range, from half range to full range, you only get half attack. So those two 15s are in that second band. They're more than 2, but they're less than half. The range is 12. So their attack factor is going to be 15 plus 15, pretty much as printed. So we're looking at 30 points. 30 to 36 is still 1 to 2 because my life sucks. Also, I'm playing the Iraqis, so you have to deal with it. Again, right now the game by points is tied. It's 5 to 5. This game is dead heat right now. In fact, if I can pin down this tank platoon, I'll get an extra point. But let's see what happens. 30 to 36 is technically 1 to 2 odds. So I need a 1 or a 2 to disperse. A 2. The Iraqis are now winning. Twink. I think that's going to be it for my movement phase. I'm sorry, for my fire phase. Now going to movement. Oh, to complete my quote-unquote attack phase, I'm going to try to rally that platoon of T-55s up there on the ridge. I need a 1 or a 2. 4, he does not rally. I think that's going to be it for my turn. Did a little bit of maneuvering. These guys obviously started unloaded. They're just going to shuffle their defenses in that town a little bit. Not that I think it's really going to come into play. The stream's only got about another 30 to 40 minutes left. But just to go through the motions here. Alrighty. Yeah, that's going to wrap me up for the Iraqi turn. So again, this is technically Panzer Leader for guys in the chat. Panzer Leader is kind of consider it second edition Panzer Blitz. So there's Panzer Blitz comes out in 1970, Panzer Leader in 74, Arab-Israeli Wars comes out in 77. Later on, people have come out with their own sort of dining room table expansions that they've been publishing, self-publishing since, Lord knows when. One of those is Tactical Combat Middle East by Toshash Miniatures. That is roughly what we're playing here. They don't have British counters. And I reworked all the counters. Now, of course, these are my own counters, my own maps, my own battles. But pretty much they're the first ones, and I did borrow heavily from them. They were the first ones to run Panzer Leader series in 1991 Gulf War. And that's where you get the idea of the dispersed Allied coalition units counting as victory points for the Iraqis. That's the only way the Iraqis ever even have a chance of winning the game. Like I said, right now I have dispersed a total of 6 British units. He's destroyed 5 of my units. Technically, at the moment, I know it looks like the Iraqis are getting stomped, but right now the Iraqi commander is doing marginally better than the British commander by 6-5. Although I have a feeling that's about to change. Okay, turn 5. We begin with your direct fire phase, Mr. Damon.
Right.
Because those swing fires are not dispersed for a change.
Yep.
Oh no.
50. It's 12. It's 4-1. Now, yeah, the swing fire will fire at the T-55 on the hill, due south.
That's on the hill, 50. Okay. By himself, or is he adding any other units in there?
50. That gives me against 12. That's 4-1 with +1, isn't it?
Yep.
I need. What do I need for 7-1?
84.
84. The HQ tank. Can he see him? He can't he?
I think he can.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to 8 hexes.
He has line of sight. Yep.
Do I double at 8, or is it up to 7 I double?
No, you double out to half. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're at exactly 8. He does double. So it's 56 plus 50 equals 108.
That's my 7-1.
Oh, yep. And 1 to the die roll.
Yeah, so that shot will do. 4.
Becomes a 5. Get rigged.
Mm-hmm.
Score is now tied.
The 2 scimitars can see the HQ vehicle, due south.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Damn, that 30mm gun. Yep. That's out of range. Oh, no, it's not out of range. I was thinking of something else. Yeah, you can see him.
So
it is 16-3. It is 4-1. Have to add 1
on the dice again.
He's not a tank, so you have to add 2 to the die roll for hold down shielding.
Add 2. Okay. 6.
Yay. 6 becomes 8 at 4-1. This is important, and I'll tell you later why. That's a clean miss. Nice. That's that company commander. I've lost my entire company of T-55s, but I don't care because I'm awesome.
So now we've got 1 at short range and 1 at normal range, firing at the T-55s on the hill.
Yep.
Can you raise 1 with the short range shots?
We're looking at this right here. Yeah, that's going to be 112. And then you're going to throw in this guy as well, the one that hasn't fired, the full platoon.
Yeah, he's 56 against 12. So
yep, he does have range.
That's a 4-1.
God damn, he's
That's a
British
4-1.
guns, And I took 4 points off their
4
range.
to 1 plus
American
1.
tanks shoot out to 20. All right, so it's going to be 56 plus 112. If you engage.
I'm just going for. I think I'll. If I 1 platoon at one platoon at the other.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, either way you want to do it, they both are legal. You could, for people in the chat, he could combine his 112 plus 56 and just attack both platoons with one die roll, or he could do one by one the way he's doing it. Either way is legal and fair. So first we're gonna do 112. Oh. I'm sorry.
What score does what role does the combining them both? Shooting at all of them.
Let's see. So that 56 becomes 112. You're allowed to do this because both of those T-55 platoons are in the same hex. This is why sometimes you don't like to gather your units into one big group, because you lose some of your tactical dispersion. But 112, oops, your attack factor isn't that great. 112 plus 56 is 168 divided by 24. Because now you have to attack both of them. It's a 7 to 1 exactly. You have the whole stack at 7 to 1.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
Cool. All right, you do have to add 3 to your die roll.
A 1.
A 1 becomes a 4, but at 7 to 1, that's still a kill. You shot through the berm. That actually did happen with some Abrams. They shot through the berm and went through 20 feet of sand and hit the T-55 on the other side of the sand and killed it. American tanks recorded kills shooting through dead tanks to kill live ones on the other side. That's how unfair some battles in the Gulf War became. Score is now 8-6 British.
So that's all. There's no shooting up the north, is there? Everything's out of sight. Everything that could see shot south. Nothing to shoot in the north. Okay, so rallies.
You have 1. He rallies on a 1 through a 5.
A 2.
Rallies. Movement.
Let's see now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those two will advance onto the hill to 29-29 and 28-29 and go hull down on the hilltop.
It's like classic Gulf War photo. Challengers advancing through a graveyard of T-55s.
Now, none of the warriors fired, did they?
The only thing to add visually to that would be the, it's got to be at night. No, your question.
A few burning oil wells.
Yep. No, none of your warriors fired. Your strikers fired and your tanks fired. Warriors didn't fire, and neither did your scimitars.
The scimitars fired at the HQ, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they did. Sorry.
Yep.
They missed.
Yep. So the warriors will load.
I keep losing the chat, guys. I'm sorry if I'm missing any comments. I'll try to log in on my phone because my other laptop here is not getting the job done. If not, no worries, but in case... Whoa! I do not need to hear that noise. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your movement.
So all the warriors will load, then head south onto the road.
Damn it. I guess I just gave away where my artillery was coming. That was a fortuitous move. Bring to front. Okay, all warriors are now loaded. All right, the southern troop, where are they heading to first?
South onto the road.
Novus Templar, welcome from Kansas, or greetings from Kansas. Again, I was losing the chat a bunch of times. I'm still not being able to connect it on my laptop, so I'm sorry if I didn't say hello earlier. I am not seeing all of the messages because technology. Okay, this guy's moving south onto the road, and then where? He has half his movement. That's 3 points.
And then he'll start heading southwest down the road for whatever he's got left.
4.
Southeast even.
5. 6. That is half his movement.
And the rest will form up on the road behind him.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Out of range of the surviving T-55s. Missile launcher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out of range of the missile launcher. Yeah, they're doing what you're supposed to do. He established an overwatch position with his tanks on the ridge, and then he's moving up with his mechanized infantry. So this guy, again, 6 to load, 6 to load, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 6 to load, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's this nice little column of mechanized infantry cruising down the road. My BRDMs, my commander can't do shit about it. Wow, there's more British coming. What the hell? Okay, other movement.
The HQ, the Warrior HQ, and just the Warrior HQ will do the same.
1. Now he doesn't have to load, so he gets to move a lot further. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, technically no.
He'll drop in.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He does not get to use the road movement rate because there's only one vehicle in there. For stacking purposes, those 2 units count as one because they're loaded. So sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half. How far do you want to push him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll go there.
Your battalion commander, is he cool where he is?
He's just going to drop south onto the road for now.
All right. Your strikers and your tanks can move half. Your scimitars and your tanks can move half.
Yeah, the scimitars will drop south onto the road and then head down the road.
Five, 6, 7.
Yep.
Okay, that's as far as they can go because they did fire, so they get half their movement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. Oh yeah, they're out of range of that.
Okay, because science teacher, yes, I did see the comment about Damon using up all his ones, and I did see the comment about people commenting on the dice mat. But the one thing I did miss apparently was Novus Templar. So Dennis, welcome to the stream again. And sorry I didn't say hello earlier because I was not seeing all the messages.
The 2 challengers will head due east, but will skirt the bottom of the ridge line so that they don't have to pay any movement penalties.
They'll skirt the bottom of the ridge line, so they'll go this way. Hold on, let me get my little.
Just under the edge of that northern hill, effectively going due east, but just going slightly under the edge of the hill. Yep.
Let me get my little CBS chalkboard going here.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Something like that.
Yep.
Sweet. Alright. Cool. So, we go to Iraqi, turn 5. I don't know if we're going to have a turn 6, but just in case, I'm going to call in artillery. Okay, my current artillery, that's into my first part of the phase. Second phase is you resolve the previous turn's artillery. Hits on 40-20. Splash, right there. Fortunately for the British, there's nobody there anymore. And I don't even know if they actually would have landed there because the unit that was spotting them has been crippled, or sorry, has been destroyed. I have another unit that can spot, but I don't think they have line of sight on that hex, so it may drift. I do not have line of sight on that hex. I get blinded by my own hex spine there. Alright, so I have to roll to see if it drifts. A 1 or a 2, it lands where it's supposed to. After that, it might drift. A 4, it drifts. Okay, it drifts 1 hex in a random direction. Roll d6. I'm hoping for a 2. I get a 3. So it was supposed to land there. It drifts to hex 1, 2, 3. It actually lands in hex 3921. So, long story short, take a shot. It doesn't hurt anybody. Okay, so that's it for Iraqi artillery fire. Iraqi direct fire. I don't think I have any. Oh, jeez. Everybody vanished. Alright, what I meant to do was... get these vulnerable APCs off the ridge so they don't count as free victory points. One last thing I have to do technically in my attack phase is to try to rally that 1 platoon of T-55s. Come on, man. Uncle Saddam wants you to do well. Hey, my little prayer worked. He got a 1. And that will wrap up Iraqi phase. Do you want to do one more and then we'll call it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I know it's a lot later where you are.
That's not too bad. It's only 9:30.
Alright. So, yeah, let's wrap up the turn and then we'll have a quick discussion and then we'll close out the stream. Okay, it is your turn to fire.
So, all 4 tanks, well, the 3 platoons and the HQ, and the swing fire. No, you can't see. You've got that ridge in the way. Oh, no, I don't think my northern units can see, can they? My northern tanks can't see the 3 on the hill.
Let me take a look here. That's going to be close. No, actually, it's not that close. No, they can't see anything. All your southern guys can. Yeah, from here south. So there's the line. From there south, they can see.
Yep. But they haven't got range. They're out of range, aren't they? 1, 2, 3, 4,
The
5, 6,
warriors
7,
are
8.
definitely out of range. Right now,
Yep.
I'm out of
It's just
range.
the two
You are
challies.
not. Yeah. This is because this game is totally fair.
Oh.
Hey, pro tip to everyone in the chat.
Oh.
If you are a poor sport, never play the Iraqis.
3 to 1.
It is not the faction for you to try if you are thin-skinned.
3 to 1 plus 3 on the dice. So I've got a 3 to 1 on all of them, plus 2 on the die, plus 3 on the dice, isn't it? Is that an improved position?
250. Yeah, there's an improved position in there. It's going to be 112 because you're greater than a half range. 112 divided by 36. Oops, 112 divided by, dummy, 36. Yeah, you're a 3 to 1, add 3 to the die roll. You will not kill them. You may disperse them. That's if you attack all of them.
Yep. If I just shoot at 2 of them, what does that give me?
112 divided by 24. 112 divided by 24 is 4 to 1.
So that's gives me a better chance of dispersing 2 of them and maybe killing 2 of them. How does that work on the 4 to 1 chart now?
4 to 1, add 3. You kill on a 1 or a 2. You may kill. You have to get kind of lucky. You will almost certainly disperse. I think you disperse.
We'll do that.
Well, almost certainly. You disperse on... All right, you kill on a 1 or a 2. A 3 or a 4 will disperse. A 5 or 6 is a miss. It's actually kind of a clean... Now you've got
we'll do that.
Okay, so 2 challengers firing against 2 T-55 platoons. You can do that as 2 separate attacks or 1 big one. It's up to you.
Yeah, because the maths work out the same, don't they?
Yep.
I'll roll it twice then, because
Okay.
2's better than 1. So 2 dice. You got your camera on?
Nope. What'd you get?
1 and 2.
Cool, they're both killed.
1 and 2.
Nice. That makes up for all those 6-point bricks you were throwing earlier. Boom.
I like my new dice, Matt.
There you go. I mean, it doesn't say Sitrep on it, but I guess it's okay. Sort of.
Send me the file, I'll print one out.
There it is. Boom. Okay. Now the British are definitely winning. Because that's...
that opens the road as well.
6. Yep.
And it's still dangerous if I get too close. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So I'm just out of range. If I go 2 more forward, I'm in range. 4, 5, 6, 8. So we're better off going south down the road. So I've got no rallies, no more direct fire. There's nothing else in range. The swing fire, I can't see anything. So the back end of the column.
Yep.
The tail end Charlie platoon will head due south onto the ridge, looking for the that HQ unit.
Like so.
Yep. And then the 2
One, two, three, four. He's only moved less than half of his movement. Does he want to debus his infantry?
Yeah, might as well. Then we can all start shooting,
it's
can't
not
we?
really going to make a difference, but
yeah.
Again, it's more of a demo game to kind of show people how this stuff works. So Sitrep Podcast on YouTube says that she has a new resin 3D printer. She's going to custom print Sitrep dice. All right, I need to get one of those Las Vegas dice measurers. Make sure that dice is 100% legal. Otherwise, can I put in a special order for a dice that has nothing but ones, 6-sided dice, all ones, and then I'll have a couple of 6-sided dice, all sixes, and I'll ship those over to Damon. So at least now he has an excuse for all the sixes he rolls.
Right. So the two scimitars going to go drop onto the hill at 29-28 next to the chalice.
Oops, wrong unit.
The tank HQ and the other tank platoon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 16. They're going to head slightly southeast, moving towards 29-23.
Here we come to save the day. All right.
And then the three warriors on the road will all move four hexes along the road, due southeast.
So wind up in 22-29 or so?
So they're, yep, just so that they've got some cover going on.
All right, your battalion CO and your strikers.
Yeah, the CO will run down into the middle of that formation and join in with the battalion HQ. The company HQ, rather, is it? A company?
Yep.
Yeah, it's company HQ, isn't it?
Company HQ is the warrior. He's the battalion CO. Yeah, and the Sultan.
And then the striker will drop due south onto the road and try and catch up with the warriors.
That's 7. He's got 5 movement points left. Does he want to head south or east? He's got a fork in the road, physically, or Chicago. That's right. You got to get those.
He'll drop in with the. He'll drop in with the scimitars. Can he get that far?
Let me check. So that was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, barely. Because that last hex is uphill. So he's got it in top gear. He's crawling up that hill, but he does get there.
Okay, that'll do.
Sweet. Okay. I'm not going to worry about calling in new artillery because we're going to end the stream here on turn 6. But my current artillery is 2724. Oh man. Interdiction firing centered on 2724. I was anticipating again more of a push up that road. I'm trying to slow them down. Okay, so that didn't work. Now I'll go to direct fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All the juicy meat is too far out of range. So I can't fire with anything. My last platoon of T-55s up north can't do much up there. My anti-aircraft guns, I'm assuming Damon meant to do this. He is, with these two guys, he is barely blocked from these 23mm flat guns that are staged in that town. Because the hex right in front of him is also a town hex. So his line of fire is blocked by hex 2023 there. So if these guys are going to engage those tanks, they have to do it on their own. So they're going to do it on their own. 7, actually that becomes 8. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, round up to 8. 8 versus 24, 1 to 3 odds. Come on, give me one more dispersal, just for fun. A 4, nope, I missed. Yeah, and that's pretty much going to wrap things up here. Okay, technically I have 2, oh, plus he's hull down shielding, never mind. It's not even worth me firing a machine gun burst up that hill. Oh, plus I don't even have line of sight. Because I'm shooting through more than one slowpacks. Never mind. So he'll just get the hell out of there. 1, 2, 3, yeah, he's just going to go hide back here somewhere. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Unless my missiles can hit anything, which I don't think they can. Where the hell are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just out of range. Just out of range. Yeah, right now the Iraqis have no other targets besides this guy, and he just did his fire. Cool. So that wraps up the game. The score is 10-6. I have dispersed 6 different British units. You get a point as the Iraqi player for every unit you disperse. A killed unit is 5. If it's a killed vehicle unit, it's 10. If it's a killed tank or aircraft, it's worth 20. And in this entire game, you can see where Damon has only destroyed 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Up here is 2 more, 9, 10. So, again, the point is you have to, as either the American or the British player, now that we're expanding it out into other coalition forces in the Gulf War, you have to pretty much table the Iraqis and take practically or effectively no losses. Like, how many units did you lose in this game, Damon?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, that is exactly the case. So the entire division, this is one battalion of one brigade, and there were 2 main brigades in the division. So this is basically 1/8 of the battle, to be conservative, right? Because there's 4 battalions per brigade, and there's 4 brigade, and there's 2. Yeah, this is maybe even a little bit less. Maybe we'll call it 1/10. 1/10 of the total battle, and in that entire battle, they lost 1/2 of one platoon. They pretty much lost that. A half section of warriors. Not a full section of warriors. A half section of warriors. They lost one of these, and that was to friendly fire. I think they lost like 12 killed and about 50 wounded. That's the dispersals. So on this battlefield, like I said, about 10%, 1 killed and maybe 5 wounded. That was probably the total British butcher's bill in this game. Again, because these are platoons of 50 men, 5 tanks, and if it's 5 or 4 tanks, you figure that's 20 men. All these units have been pinned down and dispersed or whatever, over and over again. There's somewhere in that game, there's maybe 1 killed or seriously wounded and a bunch of walking wounded. That's what most of the Gulf War looked like. And compare that to pretty much a butchered battalion of Iraqi tanks. We're looking at 10 knocked out tank platoons. Um, so yeah, you're looking at a solid, battalion, of Iraqi armor on fire. And the British were basically slowed down a little bit. That's kind of what we're aiming for here in our Gulf War games. The trick is, how do you make a game? I'm sorry, how do you make a battle this unfair into a fair game? So, oh hey, Ben Johnson, thank you. Yes, hello and welcome to the stream. Yes, these are challengers, Challenger ones. They have absurd values, and yes, those values do plug directly into our other Panzer Leader World War II games. So Ben Johnson on the YouTube stream, that's my younger brother. So welcome to the stream, sir. Oh, he was actually in this X over here. So, Mr. Damon, what did you think of a game where you're not allowed to really lose any units? I mean, obviously you're super overpowered with the British versus the Iraqis army, but at the same time, was there any kind of a tension, or did you have to be careful, making sure that you didn't lose any units, including some of these thin-skinned recon and command vehicles?
It's easy to get overconfident with the tanks, but they are pretty monstrous. But everything else is too thin-skinned to just take any risks. Right. Even a T-55 will hurt. A scimitar, a warrior, any of them, a T-55 getting hold of one of them, especially at half range, they're in deep trouble.
Yeah, that's 15-4. That's 3-1. That's a potential kill. In the Arab Israeli Wars table, that's a one or two is a kill. And again, that's a killed armored vehicle. That's 10 points. That's worth your entire score. And if he's carrying an infantry platoon when that happens, that's game over. Now that's 15 points. There aren't. I mean, you didn't kill 15 points worth of stuff in this game. Again, we call the game at turn 6. Normally, a Panzer Leader game goes to turn 10. He would probably get 15 points eventually, but yeah, he'd be playing catch up for the rest of the game. The point is, in these Gulf War games, this is about as asymmetric as a historical tank battle gets. Historic tank battle. Yeah, I would say they're even more asymmetrical than like 1973 Arab Israeli Wars, like Valley of Tears. Because Valley of Tears, I mean, yeah, they did take tank losses. Those Centurions did not walk off that ridge hole, as opposed to here, the entire first UK armored division didn't lose a single challenger to enemy fire. They only lost 2 individual warriors, not warrior platoons, just warriors. And again, that was to friendly fire. All that said, they were overrunning Iraqi infantry, mechanized, and 2 armored divisions, 52nd, and then I think later the 12th armored divisions, as opposed to the Republican Guard. Republican Guard, you're up against T-72s. And the T-72s are a little bit better than T-55s and T-62s, I mean, obviously. But the real money is the T-72s are firing T-72 ammunition. And they use a different bracket on that table. They're even more dangerous. That's when, yeah, some Abrams were hit and dragged back to repair shops. And in the repair shop, they decided not to repair the vehicle or whatever. It was written off. So whether or not you count them as battlefield losses, some do, some don't. By the most grievous estimates, I think the Americans lost a total of 5 Abrams in the whole friggin' war. And that's, I don't even remember how many tank divisions are, mechanized divisions, armored cavalry brigades. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Way more than this. And even then, you have to look at the most unforgiving way of counting the numbers, and you still wind up with a handful. About 1 counter's worth in the entire Gulf War. And again, they're up against T-72s. So, that's where that comes in. Yeah, right. Alright, guys. So, what am I going to say here? Yeah, that pretty much wraps up Mr. Stream, unless anyone else has got any more questions. Yeah, Novus Templar. Yeah, I did get some of those Oriskany, whatchamacallit, long story short, shot glasses. They're pretty cool. They're definitely good shot glasses. They have a nice thick bottom, like a good shot glass should. So you take the shot and you slam it down. You're not going to break it. I've seen cheap shot glasses where you can't really do shots properly with them, but these are good. These are good. Again, it's Zazzle.com. You want to check out our merchandise. Oh, let me turn on Mr. Webcam here. So, cool. There we are. All right. And of course, I got what's supposed to be my Sitrep coffee mug. Right now, it's got tea in there. In fact, let me go ahead and get rid of this tea bag. And again, this Sitrep dice mat isn't really a dice mat. It's literally a PowerPoint file with 2 elements on it. Download some American 1991 camouflage. Get Sitrep podcast, slap it on there, print it out, stick it in a cardboard box. Hey, it works. Battlefield expediency. And that's pretty much where we are. So again, everybody, thanks very much for coming out to our stream. Thanks very much, Damon, and congratulations on the victory. Again, 10-6 was the final score with a British victory.
Cheers, mate. It was a good game.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks, everybody, for coming out on YouTube. Thanks to everybody for coming out on Twitch. And again, support us on Twitch. Support us on Facebook. We're also on the new Op Center is out on both YouTube, Podbean, and on tabletop.com. Check that out. Our merchandise is available at sitreppodcast@zazzle.com, and you can support us on Patreon. So we definitely appreciate everything that everyone does for us. And what can I say? We'll be in touch later on in the week. All right, everybody, I'm going to close down the stream. Thanks very much, and I will talk to everybody later on in the week. So long, everybody.
Are you looking to become Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Black Site Studio Terrain.